Okay.
I was hoping we'd have quorum. Two things. First, Monique, I want to tell you real quick what I wanted to talk to you about. Kim Sands, who is the park manager at Legion Park, was working with Mr. Motley on this, and has it pretty much completed to create a seniors program at Legion Park in conjunction with Hadley Park. Okay? And she has everything pretty much completed, but Donald Lutton, our superintendent, and Wesley Carroll, the area coordinator, are stalling and delaying from supporting this seniors program from moving forward. Okay, so we have an issue that we have to deal with. And I would like for you to contact Commissioner Hardiman and make him aware of this. There are 3 issues that are pending. 1, she needs additional hours for staffing, okay, so that she can have the staff in the morning. The seniors program will be from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And so that's the first issue. And I believe she said she needs about 15 hours of staffing to be added to her allocation of hours. The second issue is she needs an allocation of money, funds for the materials. They're starting out with 3 things at Legion Park. They're going to have a seniors yoga program, so she needs funding to buy the mats. She is going to also have a arts and crafts and pottery, so they need the money for the paints and the pottery and all of that. And then the third thing is they had set it up that the van service from Hadley Park would transport the senior citizens that live around Hadley and that are going to participate in these programs over at Legion and vice versa with the city van. And Donald Lutton has objected to that and is trying to stop it. He said he wanted the senior citizens to drive themselves instead of going together as a group, which is what they want to do. So Commissioner Hardiman needs to be aware of this. I'm also going to send out a letter to the mayor, and I'll copy you on that, and I'll copy Mr. Hardiman, but I want you to make sure him, his chief of staff, Mr. McQueen, and his administrative assistant, Cynthia Cruz, is aware of it. You want to say anything about it?
Well, if you want to continue to have the floor, do you want to bring it up with the impact fees?
Well, we can't vote. We can't vote, but I can just tell you just briefly what I want to do. You know, I've spent a lot of time with Steve Hagan, which most of you met when he came and spoke at the meeting. And we had done a proposal resolution a couple of years ago, and we had requested that the impact fees be separated into 2 categories, okay? The first category would be impact fees to purchase land and create new parks for neighborhoods. The second category would be impact fees for improvements in existing parks. That would be the first resolution that I want to bring up to the board. This way, the money is separated. Right now, they get a big chunk of money and they give it to capital improvements. Capital improvements does not purchase land. They do not create parks. All they do is make the improvements in the parks. So none of that money is being spent to create new parks. So we need to separate it and create a category. The second resolution that I was going to bring up was that we need to create a, advise the commissioners, the parks director, and the city manager to create an agenda and make sure that at least 5 neighborhood parks are created every year, so that within a 5-year period we can get our 25 parks, which was, if you read the master plan, every workshop in every neighborhood when they did the master plan stated we want more neighborhood parks. And when I speak of neighborhood parks, I'm saying not big, huge parks like Morningside or Hadley Park. I'm talking about a park that's like from a ½ an acre to maybe 2 acres, okay? So these are neighborhood parks that the neighborhood would decide what they want in it. They don't have staffing, they don't have buildings, it's usually, you know, picnic tables, space, maybe a playground, whatever they want. So we need to start doing this because none of the money that's being raised with the impact fees is being spent to purchase land and create new parks. It's all being given to capital improvements and they're spending it, making improvements. So that's going to be my resolution, and to create a goal of at least a minimum of 5 parks a year, which I think is doable.
And on that note, land isn't gonna get any cheaper.
Right. So they should have started it 5 years ago and they never did. And we did do a proposal before, a resolution. It was probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was before any of you were on the
But then-
board.
but
That was submitted?
Huh?
That was submitted?
Yeah, it was a unanimous decision and we submitted it. Johnny Martinez was the city manager, so who knows what happened to it, you know, they don't really care. They, you know, you submit the proposals and everybody yeses yeah and they don't do anything. Did you wanna say anything about Stanley? Cause I'm gonna say something.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
honestly, I'm a bit surprised of what has transpired in the last week. Obviously, we're not privy to any information of what's happening internally. I think from the standpoint of a communication between the public and the department for the first time, I saw that line of communication open, which was quite refreshing. Prior to Stanley, the previous director never once attended a meeting, and maybe once when he was speaking on a possible funding program that he was asking for our help on. But besides that, nothing. So I mean, on that aspect, I believe the Stanley was, you know, giving his best shot. I know from the points that were being brought up in the meetings, certain things were being accomplished with, I know, Legion Park and other smaller parks that had been overlooked in the past.
Totally overlooked.
It was my understanding that the residents and the individuals who work these parks were starting to feel included. Obviously, it takes time for things to happen. Stanley was only here for, what, 3 months?
6 months. He came in May, right?
In May, 5 months, yeah, middle of May. Things takes time, again, and I'm not sure what happened behind the doors. From what I've read, you know, if Kevin is the next person that's coming in, I mean, I would wish him the best. Me being, as you all know, I was involved with the interview process. Just so you all are aware, Kevin was one of the top 2 that was chosen and sent to the manager's office. So it wasn't Stanley 1, Kevin 1, Stanley 2. You know, so we are getting one of the other top person that was interviewed and vetted through that process. So some could look at that as a positive. Let's wait and see. And you know, I'm just taken back the way everything unfolded. I'm still unclear. We don't have all the facts, and I would recommend to the department to bring the facts forward for the next meeting. So maybe the same mistakes aren't repeated with the following director. And on that note, if there's anything else that you want to say with regards to Mr. Molly?
I have something I want to say. First of all, one of the reasons I brought his resume and everything, I called him, and when I spoke to him the last time, I asked him to please send me his resume and his mission statement and everything, because I wanted to read his whole resume. I've been
It's a little long though.
I like it. It's quite amazing.
It's been everywhere.
Yes, and I feel like I lost a really good friend, you know? I've been a parks activist for 22 years. In the 22 years that I've worked with the Parks Department, he is the best I have seen out of any of the parks directors that have been here. I am ashamed, embarrassed, and disgusted by what I have been told, the way he was treated. He was, I spoke to him on the phone, and I've had 4 people call me confidentially from the Parks Department. And they told me that there was a coalition of parks managers that went to Francis Suarez and basically just complained about him until he was fired by the city manager. Our interim director, Lara DeSouza, Donald Lutton, the superintendent, Robert Gonzalez, an area coordinator, Wesley Carroll, an area coordinator, and Jose Relo, a parks manager. There are some other people, I don't know who they are. Some park manager from Moore Park, I was told, was also part of the group. I think it is an embarrassment to this city that this type of behavior, backstabbing behind the scenes, unprofessional, disrespectful to a man who has an enormous amount of talent and experience and came here making positive changes. And one of the things that he did, which I was extremely proud of, was that he saw what was happening to our children's programs and the children and the families, especially the low-income children and poor families in this city who were being policied out of our programs by fees and regulations and rules to exclude children. We had children that were thrown off of a van service that I set up. And Donald Lutton, the superintendent, and Wesley Carroll did everything they could to stall, delay, and stop that from happening. And only because Commissioner Sarnoff supported me was I able to do that van service. I received no support at all from anybody from this Parks Department setting that up for those kids at Legion Park. And he had the audacity to throw those children off the bus. And at this meeting, we were supposed to review all of the fees for all of the programs, for the van service, for the summer camps, for the holiday camps, for everything. Review what we were charging and come up with something that was going to be inclusive instead of exclusive. I plan to speak out loud and clear from now on. I am tired of being politically correct. I don't care who likes me or doesn't like me. I am done. I am done with people being treated this way. I volunteer my time to make this city better and our Parks Department. And I said, and I am ashamed and embarrassed by what's transpired. That's all I have to say about it. And Devin, thank you very much for recommending him. The 5 months that we had him, it was a breath of fresh air that blew through this Parks Department. And it showed how lacking we are in talent. I just hope this new guy is ready for what he's stepping into.
Thank you, Eileen, for everything that you do in your time and your passion for parks. I think we could all agree that we would love to have 1,000 more of you present at every meeting. And you're right. The one thing that the underlying coordinator is that we do have a lot of work within our Parks Department. I think we could all agree on that, the board and the department.
You just missed me, Eric. I just finished. And I ain't saying it again.
You recorded the whole thing, so.
Yeah, it's gonna be on.
Yeah, Mr. Crespo. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to say something. I agree with you on our efforts. I think that we should make it clear that we are concerned about what happened, because I think if we don't say something, then it could happen to the next person. So I think that collectively, not just one person, it can't just be one person that says something or two people that says something. It has to be a collective action. Like if we all send a letter, sign our names or whatever it is to show that we are really concerned and we care about the situation, and possibly schedule a meeting with the city manager to sit down and express our concerns. Because I don't know him personally, but you know, all of you have said really great things about him by looking at his resume. I mean, it's it's outstanding. So I can't see any reason why they would just fire him out of nowhere like that without any warning, without any, previous conversations or anything. So I'm definitely concerned about that, and I think that we should collectively stand together and not be disrespectful about it, but we should say, this is important to us too, so I agree.
I mean, I work in corporate America, and I've had so many knives stuck in my back, and when it gets to be a bad issue, they bring everybody in to the room. Then everybody sits down, and they say, this is the issue, and we resolve it. We don't do this behind the scenes and bad-mouthing and being disrespectful. The things that were told to me by some of the employees in this parks department are just shameful that our management staff has participated in. Absolutely shameful.
Anyone else have anything else to say?
I don't really have, it's, obviously the concerns you brought up are very, obviously you did your homework and people told you that. But I think whenever, coming from the corporate side, the idea is to look at the facts and look at the, things and all that, and I don't know how much of this is because first we hear that he resigned, then he was fired. Well, was he resigned? Did he resign officially? Was he fired? Number two, some of the comments, are they on record? Are they not on record? You know how these things are. So, as a group, again, we're not even doing a formal meeting here. We're having more of a discussion. So I would say we have to be careful what comes out on record, because we really don't know anything at this point. I don't know anything. We heard things from what you're saying. I didn't hear anything. So I guess it's more maybe when we have our group, as you mentioned, maybe bring in some folks as the advisory group. I think it's important for us to know what really happened. I don't know what happened, and then use that information so we direct the parks
you can call,
in a good way.
Well, you got Mr. Motley's phone number. You can call him and he'll fill you in. One thing he did say to me that I was quite stunned at, he told me that he received numerous phone calls from employees, and they stated that Lara made a comment that, well, we send Motley back to Missouri, and we can certainly send this new guy back to the county if we don't like how he acts. So these are the type of things that the employees are stating, and obviously if she said it, she can deny she said it, but people were making statements like this. So when I hear stuff like this coming from management, I find it quite embarrassing and disgraceful.
If it is true, I would agree with you. And again,
And it's a shame she's not here tonight to explain herself.
harping back on what Frank was saying, I think as we move forward towards next month is, if you can, try to bring as much information as possible. So we're enlightened, the board as a whole, of what transpired. And again, like I mentioned earlier, to make sure that the following director doesn't fall into these same traps. We have too much work to do. We need to move forward. We need to have progress. We need to acquire more land, create more parks, take care of the children, take care of the seniors. There's a lot to gather, to take into account here, and we need to move forward whatever director we have now. We have now this.
Well, I mean, the
individual.
pending issue that's happening in City Hall right now, obviously, is the most pressing one at the moment.
It's been since when?
So
Since May,
obviously,
April.
you know, that's a big issue, and I think parks, as land becomes more difficult to acquire, or more important. And for us as a team to advise properly, we need to have more information, so. I guess my opinion right now is I don't have an opinion until I find out more information, so, you know, then we can have a good opinion.
So I have a question for you. Were you aware that Mr. Lutton was put on a 3-day suspension?
Yes, I was.
Did any of you know this?
I knew this because I had a meeting with Mr. Motley for 2 hours at Legion Park to review all of the long-term problems in the park. And during the park, we talked about Mr. Lutton's attitude and the way he's treated the families that are poor and working class. I have had many parents, mothers, I've walked into the office and they're there crying, and I'm like, what's going on? Why is this mother crying? And it was something that Donald did, stopping a child from participating in a program, you know, with this zero tolerance to bend or flex a rule, creating fees that parents can't afford. And I started to talk to Mr. Motley about that, and he says, well, I've had some problems with Donald. And it came out that he had been suspended for insubordination. His staff members went to Mr. Motley and said that during a staff meeting he was bad-mouthing the director. This is the superintendent of our Parks Department, in charge of our Parks and Recreation programs, bad-mouthing our Parks Director in front of his staff. Why would the city tolerate that? And Mr. Motley gets fired and this man still has his job? Why is that?
These are definitely difficult questions to answer. And
You know, the only reason that they didn't get brought up on charges, and by the grace of God, no child was killed crossing Biscayne Boulevard when they were thrown off that van service. That never had to happen. They should have come up with a plan of action that included all the children. When you have a fee, just like we have for summer camp, there is a fee for all of the children. If you're poor, you don't pay. You pay according to income. And he didn't want to do that. And Kim wanted to send a counselor to Biscayne Boulevard to stand there till we were able to get crossing guards to make sure the children cross the street safe, and he forbid her. Donald Lutton forbid her to send someone down there. And this is the person that we have in charge of our Parks and Recreation program. We need new management in our Parks Department. We need new leadership. We need people that respect the fact that we're an international city, that we have children from poor families attending our programs. We need to create fees that are inclusive, and we need to respect everyone. And that's not happening, and it needs to change. And Mr. Motley was changing everything. That's why they wanted to get rid of him.
What's your name? I hate to be rude, but I don't know any of you people. What's your name?
My name is Eileen Batari. I'm on the Parks Advisory Board for Mayor Regalado,
Vice Chair.
and I'm also the co-chair.
Okay.
And I've been working with the Parks Department for 22 years as a parks activist. I started the youth center at Legion Park back in the 1990s.
Well, some of these questions that you raise are very good ones, and I would love to hear more information about that. So, very, very good. And you've been here certainly a long time, so you have a lot of experience and seen a lot of these things, so I definitely respect that.
Please make sure that Commissioner Hardiman is filled in on all of this, that he's aware of it. Okay.
Come on, guys. What are we doing?
On
That's
that
about
note, just expressing our concerns of what transpired the last few days, and
Why don't you wait till the
Tabling.
next meeting to?
I mean, either way, I still plan to attend the next meeting, to say my goodbyes and be involved if I can with what's happening with the nomination and the new chair. Love to meet the new director. If he is present, please have him attend the next meeting and make sure that he follows what, the one thing that I found was of the utmost importance is the attendance by the director at every board meeting.
Yeah, being present.
You have to be present.
That's the
Without
first
being
step in
present,
communication.
nothing is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And that to me was so refreshing to have Mr. Bali sitting with all of us, with you and us, to answer these difficult questions.
It was wonderful, and he was so intelligent. He could answer all our questions, and he had good ideas.
So just, yeah, if I can, just to make my final note, that this new individual coming in, this new director, it's imperative that he sits in these meetings. It's not even a choice. He has to sit in these meetings. It is his job.
Well, I think in basic communication
Absolutely.
and for the value of why we exist, right? The idea is to give feedback, and I think that would be the best way to do it.
Correct.
So I think that's a very good point. We all agree that that's probably the most important thing that we would have, to have that person present so we can talk to them.
And then I guess I'll just say my goodbyes
Happy
to the next
Halloween.
one. You like that?
That's his going away present.
I mean, y'all can bring me one too, and I can make one. Yeah, and I guess I'll say my goodbyes for the following month. But in this meeting, it's formally made aware that I will be stepping down for personal reasons, and I will.
No, we can't vote on that, so.
You gotta keep me with the
We have
word,
to
right?
accept
No,
it.
but you're stepping there because it's a conflict, right? You
Right,
work it in
right.
planning.
Exactly. So
He works for the city now.
I
Did
was
y'all know
just
that?
employed by the city of Miami, so I'm in the planning and zoning
Makes
department.
sense, that's it.
And
That little paper you have to fill out, you can't fill it out anymore.
exactly, so there's no reason can't be doing this any
The
longer.
rainbow, the sunshine.
Yeah, I mean, again, look, we're all passionate, so this is, in my opinion, this is a beautiful thing, and just want to be involved with what direction our city's headed.
But I, for one, want to thank you for leading us and doing the stuff that you have the last.
You did a good job.
Yeah, I was here a
You
short
did?
time, very short time. I'm new to this, so basically I'm getting to know more about it, and I was excited to be part of your team. So
No, it's our team, it's not my team, it's our team, and and stay on board, and there's a be a lot more work to be done.
all right,
So I'll see you all next week, and.
all right. Good luck with your job.
It's only